Hello and welcome inside the scores table. Brian Haenchen, Danny Riego here with you. It's regional week. Regionals are coming up Saturday, and Danny and I have two jam-packed shows planned for everybody tonight between Wednesday, which is tonight, where we're going to be previewing Class A and 2A, and Thursday, previewing Class 3A and 4A. We put our heads together and put together what I think is a superstar lineup of guests. We're going to be starting here in about 20 minutes, joined by Mitch Simmons of Parke Heritage. Going to be joined right after that by their opponent Saturday, Daryl Gibbs and Zoie Walls of Monrovia. A little bit later, Izzy and Addi Boots of Mater Dei. Justin Jordan, friend of the show from Whitko, Kamri, Rowland, and Courtney Mathew from Rensselaer, and we'll bring things home with our buddy Zach Newby from over at Lapel. So a lot to get to tonight, lots to talk about. But Danny, first, I want to know, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well. It's a different week. Regional week is a different week. And so one of the big changes that you're going to see is that coaches had to navigate a singular opponent over a week. So while in sectionals, you might only have one night to prepare from Friday night or Saturday night, or have to worry about if you got somebody that was heavy scout on Tuesday night early in the sectional, have to worry about the traps that are set on Friday and Saturday for you. There's a lot of different ways to affect a game and a matchup when coaching, and some of that stuff is on the fly and in-game flow and so on and so forth. This is the one singular round until we get to the state championship where we get to see kind of the preparation of coaches over a week and the install over a practice week too. I think that's the first thing that I would say just out loud into the microphone, because we get to see who's really good at it, because I think you can tell. We always say coaching matters, right? But sometimes when you come out and somebody's up 21-10 because of something that they did schematically during the week, this is a real good chance for coaches to show off.
It'll be a fun one. We, like I said, our guest list there. Couple games we want to just touch on, I guess, while we have about 20 minutes of just me, Danny, and you, the people watching us. So a couple games to talk about and discuss. I'll breeze through a couple in Class A that I have an eye on. The first one, obviously, Borden versus Orleans, a game that Borden lost actually during the regular season, their first loss in Class A in a very long time. They lost that one by 3 back on January 15th, 2026. But again, we've been saying it all year, Borden feels like a different team, a different animal. They're not necessarily built like your classic Class A team. And when you have the development of Riley Rarick as a scorer, and then you add in Ava Wheeler, who's healthy and back, plus McKenna Mullen, AJ Mallard, everybody else in that team, Emma Hart, it's just such a well-balanced team. It's difficult to see them being derailed. I haven't had a chance yet to talk with Matt Vick about that game against Orleans. I'm hoping to here before the week's over, but it feels like a revenge game sort of for Borden, where if anything, that kind of woke them up, their regular season loss, and could set up for a big thing on Saturday.
Well, you mentioned the cast of characters, right? Rarick, Wheeler, Hart, Mallard, Mullen. But remember, it was when we were analyzing the outcome of the state championship game against Lafayette Central Catholic, where Borden beat them for the state championship last year. Vic had that adjustment leading into it with the 1-3-1, kind of caught everybody by surprise. He was actually one of the people that I was thinking about when I went through that little opening intro about how I think coaching, you have the opportunity to do something like that. This team's loaded, okay? They're loaded, but they're also very well coached. And that is a dangerous combination. Borden is resounding favorites. I think it's very easy to see why when you watch them play. But this is a team that's also very complete from a preparation perspective. They can do different things also. They didn't typecast themselves into one individual style. They give you different looks. So I, for one, I think am very interested, because I think Orleans does provide some things that I think, and we'll get to the Orleans side here in a little bit, but all the John Harrell stuff, all of the Sagarin stuff, all of the IBCA stuff, it just points to Borden as such a resounding favorite. And that's not dissimilar to what they were last year, but it's because they're just loaded top to bottom.
Yeah. And the thing, too, that I will never – one of the lasting images from last year's state championship game, we did the behind-the-scenes story with Borden, was Matt Vick in the locker room immediately after the game, celebrating the girls. And then the overriding message from him and then the girls, too, was, let's do it again next year. Like, the focus was already – the message was already on, let's do it again. And it wasn't like we can't enjoy this now. They certainly enjoyed it in the moment, but it was also just a reminder, like, to guard against complacency to an extent. And I think over the course of this season, one that they've had to overcome adversity, obviously, with not having their leading scorer from a year ago back in the lineup.
Right.
They did a very good job guarding against that complacency. Like I said, played a tough schedule. I had a chance to see them up north a little while ago, earlier this year, and just a really impressive outfit. And the difficulties going back to back are evident, but I think that I know they've cleared that first hurdle getting through that sectional, and now it's on to a regional rematch against a team that beat them earlier in the year.
Yeah. When I watched the sectional championship game and some of the sectional games kind of leading up to it, I think Rarick has ascended to another level again. She's catching the ball kind of, at pinch post a lot and elbow a lot. And it's such acceleration on that first step. And if she can get to her right hand, she's got the length, being, basically a 6-footer that can finish at the rim. But she creates such problems in any recovery, I think, that Ava Wheeler is going through. It's balanced out by how just magnificently more athletic Rarick seems to be than everybody else in this class. Like, Borden is a great example too. Like, if you were to say, like, hey, who are the best teams left? There's 64 teams left. Who are the best teams left? It's not sequential. Like, it's not, you just take the 4A teams and then rank them 1 to 16, and then 3A teams are 17 through 30, 32, or whatever it is. Okay. There's some mix in there. Borden is one of the best teams in the state. And that's, I think, another theme that will carry through here. You guys will know who we're talking about when we talk about who the best teams are, whether it's a Borden or a Whitko or a Rensselaer Central or a Lapel, people like that. These teams are not good because of the class that they are in. They are good regardless of class. And if this was 30 years ago and we were playing in a classless system, they'd be here. These teams would be here. Borden might be in that kind of top bracket of top 2 or 3 teams that might be able to compete across different classes. And that's what makes them such a resounding favorite in this matchup with Orleans, in this case, in the regional.
There's a couple area Class A teams going through looking to pull upsets based on the computers, but they have at least a fighter's chance. You have Tinley taking on Trinity Lutheran from down south, and Tri taking on Greenwood Christian. I flip those schools, the local ones. Greenwood Christian, Tinley are the local ones as it pertains to me. They're both going to be at Shelbyville on Saturday. Those games I'll have a little bit more in-depth preview on when I do predictions for the area teams, so we'll have a breakdown there with those. One other game in Class A, Danny, that I wanted to touch on before we get to some of the games that we talked about, unless there was ones that you wanted to get to before we get to 2A, was that North Miami Fountain Central game at Frankfort. That's the prelude to the Hamilton Southeastern McCutcheon game. That's 2 top 15 teams in Class A, and they're very similar statistically. I kind of looked at that matchup a little bit, dug into the numbers off Max Preps when I was putting together my games to watch for the weekend. Fountain Central's a little bit deeper offensively, but North Miami has a really good top 3. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see which style of play wins out, and their first ever meeting between those 2 schools. Was there anything else Class A you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean, so I spent my entire time that I had allotted talking about Borden. I did want to mention Orleans. Like, Orleans can present problems for Borden. Like, if that's the game you turn on to just be like, hey, Danny was talking about how good they are, let's see how good they are, and you turn on the stream or want to see what it is. They got a kid by the name of Callie Alston. She's a senior. She's a left-hander. She's athletic. She's plenty capable enough and plenty long enough and plenty athletic enough to handle a Rarick matchup in the middle of the floor. The issue is when you start getting into, the Mallards and the Mullins of the game. But they also have a kid by the last name of Ralph on that team that is a really good player. Like, she shoots the 3, she draws fouls, she affects the game in a lot of different ways. She played very well in the sectional and champions game. Like, Emma Hart's going to have her hands full. And so if you can win a couple of matchups and then, kind of keep this, you'll hear this a lot, keep the game going close into the fourth quarter, you just never know who's going to tighten up in a spot like that. But Orleans isn't here by accident. They got through that sectional because they have good basketball players and they are a good basketball team. So I just wanted to shout out the other side of that Borden matchup. In Class A, we'll just do it sequentially as we keep going. So we can just get to another game. And if there's something else, I'll just come back to it in A.
Yeah, Marquette Catholic, I think, is a heavy favorite as I look here on John Harrell. They're 58-40 projected win over Fremont. It's we'll dive a little bit deeper in terms of guests and everything in Class A here for semi-state. That's kind of the move for us because it gets unwieldy, I think, between trying to do the two classes. Let's shift up to,
you know what's interesting about Marquette Catholic?
Yeah.
So when you watch sectional championship games and you prepare to somewhat prepare to say something about multiple teams, and you look at a schedule and you're like, I don't want to watch that game. They won it by 50. I don't want to watch that game because they won it by 50. Marquette Catholic is a team that I've seen a ton on film because they're playing the team that I was originally trying to research. That tells me of the battle testing. Like Katie doesn't back down from anybody. They are also resounding favorites to face Borden, I think, in that kind of top half. Last year we expected it to be, I think, Marquette Catholic and Borden again. And I think Lafayette Central Catholic got in the way. But one of the things that makes Marquette Catholic so good, of course, Lanaya Davis is there, but they haven't been presented really with anything that that would catch them off guard, because they see so many different things. For example, they played, let me see if I come up with anything. Like they played Hammond Morton. So they played a very like Kyla Patterson, ultra athletic, ultra big player where she does everything. They've played the balanced teams across. They've played the young kids like the Ari Rowells and the Lane Lyleses of the world. They just seem to play everybody. And so Marquette Catholic, I think, is a huge story, independent of who they play in what rounds up until the state. And then I'll give everybody just one thing to watch if you turn on Marquette Catholic is I think you need to ask yourself, am I watching an Indiana All-Star when you're watching Lanaya Davis? Does she need to make it to the state championship or does she need to win the state championship to be an Indiana All-Star? That 26 class, we're starting to whittle down to it now, right? I mean, people are starting to send lists over text and they don't include some names. Lanaya Davis is one of those kids who's on a lot of people's lists and not on a lot of people's lists. So the good news is for Lanaya is all the people texting aren't the people that make the decisions. It's just for us to kind of talk about. But that's an interesting storyline for Marquette Catholic coming in is how far does Lanaya Davis really need to advance for people to really notice that her resume and her talents as a player is good enough to represent Indiana on that All-Star team.
It's going to be fascinating. I'm trying not to think ahead to Miss Basketball and Indiana All-Stars because just the idea of writing down predictions for it has me breaking out in hives out of stress because it is such a tight race for Miss Basketball and Indiana All-Stars. Is there some depth to this class that makes it difficult as well?
Yep.
Shifting up, Danny, to 2A. A lot to pick through here. Let's start with Eastern versus Austin. This one, again, a fascinating, just contrasting kind of styles and how these teams win games. I mean, you have Bryn Owens on the Austin side. She's scoring 27 a game, shooting 45%. On the other side, you have Eastern, who has a big top four, and they get a lot of balanced scoring with four kids all averaging 8 to 9 points a game. So it's kind of like, what wins out? Is it the star who's able to carry her team by herself, or is it the other side whose depth of talent kind of wears down the opposing defense and gets them through to the next round?
Bryn Owens is a very good player, and I think the tendency for a lot of people is I'll take the deeper team because you can just load up on Bryn Owens. I would just like to gently remind everybody that Bryn Owens has been seeing face guard and seeing box and one and seeing diamond and one and triangle and two with both defenders on Bryn Owens for the entire season. So they have answers to the questions that they are going to provide very simply. Like Bryn Owens, in playing against a kid like that, I think you're going to be okay going into it, saying things like it's okay if she gets 20 or 23 or 24. You just want to make sure that it's not 38, 39, or 40. And you guys have heard me say this in this screen all the time. When you play against talents like that, it's a volume game. You just have to decrease efficiency. So if she is going to get 30, she better be taking 30 attempts to get there. But there's no question that if I was coaching against a team like Austin, where Bryn Owens is such an extraordinary scorer, that I'm going to try to take away what you do best. And so I would love to see somebody else try to get 25 in that game. But Owens, again, is just, that kid can score the ball, man.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple other games there from Class A before we bring on our first guest of the night. You have Andrean taking on Bremen. That's a 21-point spread in favor of Bremen, according to the computers. Locally, we have Heritage Christian looking to continue their quest to defend a regional championship and advance further into the tournament. They have Union County, all 10-point favorites there as well. So not a ton of drama expected between those two games. And on those two, a lot of these other games we're going to talk about, obviously, as we get into our guests here. Oak Hill versus Alexandria, I think, is the other game, Danny, that we don't have covered with guests. That one expect to be a 1-point win in favor of Oak Hill. But on the Alexandria side, I mean, a 20-win team, considering everything that they graduated and Jacqueline Hosier, that's a pretty dang impressive response from them and what could have been a rebuilding year potentially.
I think you have to tip your cap to Mickey Hosier. I don't even know if it was in question whether we would even see Mickey Hosier as the coach, because his daughter, Jack Hosier, who's gone on to play Division I basketball at Vermont. I know he's in the administration at that high school. I haven't talked to him in a while. I used to talk to him a lot more and text with him a lot more, but I would be surprised if he didn't say that this was his greatest coaching season that he's had in a really long time. They are super balanced and they're so different. And it tests kind of the longevity. I think Mickey Hosier's in his probably 7th about season in coaching Alexandria, but they're very different than they were last year. If you remember what Alexandria did last year too, they advanced, I think, to the same round and played Rensselaer Central in that round, where Rensselaer Central they had a stable of horses. They had Drone, I think, who's since graduated, but they had, Radke and Rowland and Mathew and all of that. And that was just a lot. It was really a lot for Jacqueline Hosier to go into that basketball game in that environment to try to win it almost single-handedly. So I think the balance almost really kind of helps them. But congratulations to Mickey Hosier for being here. But, dude, he has his hands full with Oak Hill. Like Oak Hill, by the way, Sweetser, Indiana, that's the home of Courtney Moses. So I will go ahead and shout out our season 2 co-host and Courtney Courtney Delks, excuse me. But hey, I mean, they got 2 players. Let me get the names so I don't mess this up. Brianna Daly and Morgan Cates. So you're going to hear a lot about them as Oak Hill tends to stay alive. Okay, they are 2 6-foot players on the same team that play great high-low basketball within the class of 2A, which is super rare. They remind me of the Fort Wayne Lures team that had Miley Waring, and I apologize to the other post player because I can't remember, that actually went on to win the 2A state championship because there was just no team standing in their way that had 2 post players. So I would expect the remainder of Oak Hill season will be playing against congested zone, having to run high-low action. I turned on their film. They're on a lot of the Dean Smith T game stuff where they're trying to get the ball to the elbow, create high lows. They are very good. Very, very good. They have good rim protection, and they have made light work of their schedule. I think they only lost 2 or 3 basketball games all year. They won double digits in the sectional championship game. But Oak Hill was a team when I was kind of sifting through and watching and speed watching some of these lower class games. They were one of the teams that really stood out to me. I like Oak Hill a lot.
I was trying to find, as you were talking there, who the other big was with Miley Waring, because I remember that. And it was actually, I think they took out Lapel that year in the championship. And Newby and I talked on the phone. I think it was the next morning. They pointed out their bigs wearing in the other one, but I also cannot remember her name, but I know what you're talking about there.
I can't either. And that was when I was like on every episode, like patting myself on the back. Cause like in December, I was like, I think this team can win the state championship. Look, I think, and I'm not saying Oak Hill is going to win the state championship. I am saying this. I think that might be the team. If you're a Whitko, if you're a Lapel, if you're a Rensselaer Central, if you're one of those teams on the north side within the same class, that would be the one team that isn't in the top bracket that I would want to avoid because of how unique their roster is. And if you're not accustomed to playing quarter court condensed zones with fronting actions and then rotations off ball reversal, again, I'm being redundant, but they can present some problems to you in the same way that Lures did.
We're going to be joined here in just a second by Mitch Simmons, head coach at Parke Heritage. As soon as Mitch, if you're able to turn your camera, we'll bring you on stage here. But Danny, I'll turn over to you while Mitch gets sets up. Just your opening thoughts on this matchup here between Parke Heritage and Monrovia.
Parke Heritage has a kid by the name of Lila Busenbark. She's a sophomore. We're going to know about her for the next couple of years. They don't have any seniors on the roster. This is the head of the game schedule. This is a head of schedule game for them. I'm going to say something that people I think are going to just, I don't know, maybe roll their eyes a little bit. Lila Busenbark, I was watching her play, and just the way that she moved, I was like, that kid reminds me of somebody. That kid reminds me of somebody. She reminds me of somebody. She reminds me of somebody. And it wasn't until I started actually getting a head start in preparing for the 3A, 4A episode the next day. But I think she's got foundationally, from a skill perspective, a lot of Molly Ernst in her. She handles tight in space. She's got streaky shooting ability. In that first game, or in the sectional championship game, Parke Heritage advanced. It was a very close game in the first half. Heritage was down. They were up a point, down a point. It was just kind of right there. During that stretch, Lila Busenbark, I think, was like 1 for 7 from the field. It wasn't until the second half where she started making shots, and that's why they won by 10 or 12. There's a direct relationship with Busenbark scoring the basketball and Parke Heritage's ability to be efficient and productive on the offensive end of things. So my very easy what to watch that I'll lead with, and we'll ask about it, is Lila. And so I can't wait to see the way that coach kind of sees her and uses her, but she's one of the better talents in that class for sure.
With that, we bring on Parke Heritage head coach Mitch Simmons. Mitch, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks so much for hopping on with us. Danny has a couple player-specific questions here that I'll throw to him for you in just a second, but I'm curious, the youth that you guys have on your team. You won this game, this matchup specifically, last year with such a senior-different group. Now you have a bunch of younger kids, a lot of freshmen and sophomore. How are they kind of handling this initial pressure of these first few practices of regionals?
I think it's been obviously we're kind of the underdog role. We're taking that. We're relishing it. You know, we're not supposed to be here. You know, Southmont was a favorite in our sectional. I mean, we've heard Southmont all year round, and you know, to get to this is obviously, like I said, we're ahead of schedule, but it's been a real free flowing practice so far. We've had a lot of fun with it. It's, you know, we know what's at stake. We know what Saturday brings, but we also know what we can do, and we also know what we're not supposed to do. So that just makes it fun for us to just show up and play.
You mentioned Southmont being the favorite. You guys took them out by 16 in the opening round of sectionals. Last one for me before I throw it over to Danny. Just what was the key to that? Obviously the balanced scoring, but how did you get the kids to kind of believe and buy into that?
Well, we kind of kept things. We played them earlier in January, and we didn't show anything. You know, we kind of just kept it all under and close to the chest, so we'd have it for later. You know, and I said, you know, this is why we're here. You know, we have a plan. I don't think they're going to play well against our plan. They didn't, you know, and then once they bought in and believed, and we saw a couple shots go in on that Tuesday, you know, it was just, we just ran with it. You know, we had some chance. We ballooned that thing up to 25 at one point. And, you know, it was just, you know, it was one of those games where I think we scored the first 16 in the second half. So, you know, it was a 9-point game at halftime. Then all of a sudden it was over, you know, and that was, you know, it was a great, they put the game plan together piece by piece and put it together perfectly.
I've been comparing Busenbark to I compared her to Molly Ernst while you were backstage. You probably heard the comments. Look, she's really good. She's leading in scoring. She's a sophomore. Very opportunistic. Like when you guys needed a basket, you get an offensive rebound in the sectional championship. They kick it out. Busenbark hits a 3. Like it's not an accident. Like she can find her way into offense in certain ways. That's what we see just on the surface. Okay.
Right.
Like, pull the curtain on her. Tell us about her and what it's like coaching her. How good is she?
She has not touched her ceiling. Let's put it that way. Like we've still got a lot of things to work on, but as a basketball player, as a sophomore, she's as good as you're going to find, you know, not just in our area, but in Wabash Valley, in 2A for sure. Handles the basketball real well. You know, she kind of plays out of position. She kind of plays her point guard. She's more of a little of an off guard, really.
Yeah.
But she can handle the ball under pressure. You know, she's getting better at that. You know, right now we're working on scoring in traffic. You know, that's kind of a thing. You know, we're not 100% sure that we want to score against contact, but we're working on it. You know, when she adds 3 levels of scoring, then you're going to really, I mean, she's going to really explode onto the scene when next year, when she starts finishing around the rim. I mean, she's going to be one of those that, you know, worth the admission to come watch.
Yeah, I agree. I talked about how she kind of struggled in the sectional championship in the first half. I think she only had 1 made field goal in the first half. You get like 7 first quarter points from Addi Ramsey. I don't mean to shrug my shoulders as if like, oh my God, that's a shocking surprise or whatever. Right. I want to be respectful to Addi and her performance throughout the year, but she eclipsed her per game average in the first quarter of the last game. You can't get to the regional round unless you get contributions like that. Start with Addi. Talk about some of the other players that you're getting some of those contributions.
Well, Addi has been, she's our glue. I mean, she is. She's a junior that has been there before. I think it was her freshman year she played, sparing minutes. That team was loaded with, upperclassmen, and she got thrown in the game for foul trouble or something. I wasn't coaching there. I was there just to watch. And she got an offensive board and fouled and made 2 free throws late, and that helped them win the sectional. So, she's been through the battles, so she knows what it takes to win those games, obviously. But just that mentality of I'm not going to let us lose, that's kind of 1 through 6, the girls we put on the floor. We're, whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. And her scoring is obviously not a key contributor to us, but whenever we get it, if she scores 7, 8, 10 points a game, we're going to be tough to get beat that day. But that's everybody. We've got a freshman in Kennedy Mitchell who's, almost a walking double-double. Yep. And there's a freshman. That's a freshman that we're talking about, the walking double-double who plays post, can make a jump shot, and she's 5'4", 5'5". We're not like we're big, but she can play. She bangs. She beats. She's not afraid of little contact. That makes, that gives us another angle. Somebody we can post up, and then Berkeley Shelsky, Rich's daughter. That seems to be in their blood. Basketball runs in that family's blood. So she again, like Lila, as she develops and as she grows and gets stronger, she's going to be a problem. I mean, she really will be. She's just, consistency is still the name of the game when they're young, and we're working on that. Our last starter, Nessa Vaselli, we didn't have her for the first 6 games. She was sick. We finally get her back. She finally gets back into basketball shape. She's one of those that if she's got your worst defender, she's going to score some points. That's kind of how we do things. We're going to pick her. You're going to pick your poison when you play us. If you want to zone us, we'll make some shots. If you want to man us, well, then we'll move it around till we get a matchup that we like. Sometimes we shoot it before we get a matchup we like, but most of the time we do a pretty good job of doing what we're supposed to do.
That's what, and that's what film is for. But you talk about the players. You're not overly exotic on the offensive side. I mean that in a complimentary way. Like, I saw some 5 outs. I saw some circle motion. You were like, you run a lot of empty side ball screen, empty side ball screen for the audience. Like, it doesn't have to fill up in the strong side corner. So it facilitates roll. You guys got that 3 times in the sectional championship game on just empty side ball screen. Is that by design, just from a retention standpoint, or you just want to be really good at, or were you trying to be vanilla and fooling people?
Well, it was a little bit of both, but it was more, I'm a film junkie. I watch too much. I've got 4 kids at home, and I've got a 1-year-old. In fact, I'm in his room. I don't have an office here, so I'm in his room, and we'll watch tape till 1 a.m. because if he doesn't sleep, well, the computer comes back on. But I've done this long enough to where I'm watching to see what my advantages are. And we watch North Putnam's ball screen defense, and it's like, okay, we can exploit that. They don't switch it, and when they do, it's a bad switch. They switch on the top side, so we can get that look. But we've got 27 different sets we can run every time down the floor if we want to, but memorization seems to still be a struggle. But that was one of those games where we knew that was our look. We knew that the ball screen stuff was something we could rely on. Nothing against North Putnam, but that was just what we knew was in our favor that night. But again, you have to use what you have, strengths to your advantages.
At the top, I talked about how coaches get to show off and film study and identify opportunities. This is case in point right there. So I can't wait to see what you have. And I'm sure Hank will ask you a couple questions about Zoie and Monrovia now.
Yep. Talented, very talented.
I was, but first, Mitch, your first season. So what's your background? Were you on the staff before this, or?
So let's back it all the way up. So I coached the boys basketball team at Riverton Park for 6 years. And then right before the 7th season started, I jumped ship and went to Parke Heritage coach baseball and helped Rich with the boys. So when the job came available in June or July, we kind of batted it around a little bit, and I didn't take the job until August. It was one of those where they needed a coach. I was ready to get back in, take this thing and run with it. I don't teach, so I'm a layaway coach. So, my opportunities or whatever they give them to me. So if I didn't take it, I probably would never have another chance to get back into being a varsity coach. So we took it, And here we go. It's been different. I've been on the boys' side since I was 19 years old, so this is a whole new ball game for me. But it's been good. It's definitely a different learning curve. I can say that.
Coaching too with a 1-year-old, that is a serious juggling act, man. I tip my cap.
We go 1, 5, 9, and 14.
Oh,
Holy
God.
smokes! So
Yeah.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep, Coach.
We'll sleep when we're dead. How about that?
I love it. And yeah, Danny teased it, but the obligatory just Monrovia, Zoie Wells. How do you approach that matchup? What do you take away from what you saw from them last year, this season? What differences do you see?
Well, I mean, they're extremely athletic. They play up and down. They get after you. They're obviously size advantage against us is paramount. They're 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" across the front line to start the game, and then they come off the bench with one. So, obviously that's going to be an issue for us. But at the end of the day, you're still playing basketball. You're playing 32 minutes. You've got to show up and play. Zoe's a heck of an athlete. I mean, they've got a lot of athletes. They're good enough to where you can't just piece one. You can't say, well, if we shut her down, then we've got, you take away the drive, they got girls that can shoot it. Well, you take away the shoot, so it's the jump shot, then they got post players. So they're talented. I mean, I said this on Saturday. Once you get through the sectional, nobody's bad. So
That's right.
You've got to be ready to go regardless.
Absolutely. Well, Mitch, thank you so much, sir, for hopping on with us. Like Danny said, I hope you're able to get some sleep here leading into Saturday.
We'll sleep. I don't know what, March. We'll just plan to sleep in March. It'll be fine.
Perfect.
Good luck, Coach. I enjoyed watching your team. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Mitch. Take care. Mitch Simmons of Parke Heritage with us. Danny, we're going to play. This is our one quick transition of the night where we go straight from one interview to another. We're joined now by Zoie Walls and Daryl Gibbs of Monrovia High School. Monrovia on the opposite side of that Parke Heritage matchup we were just talking about. Daryl and Zoie, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. How are the first couple days of regional preparation been going?
I'll let Zoe start.
Everyone's kind of sick right now, so no one's really been there. So it's kind of hard. So we're all kind of going with like the flu right now. So it's kind of hard for all of us to be there. And clearly I'm going through it right now. So
I was going to say, Zoe, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So Daryl, when you have the flu going around the locker room, obviously couldn't think of a better time for something like this to strike a locker room. How do you balance preparation, practice, conditioning with trying to get everybody healthy and making sure they have enough in the tank for Saturday?
If it looks like I'm rolling my eyes, it's because I am. I've never had this experience before. We have 5 out of the 9 key contributors out with flu since they haven't. This is the first time I've seen Zoe not joking around since Saturday. I mean, and so I mean it's kind of been interesting. I mean we've been practicing with a lot of the JV and a lot of the reserves and the people that are there, and we just been kind of working on concepts, hoping that I'm hopeful that tomorrow we're going to Terre Haute for our practice, and hopeful that we kind of get them. But my goal is I'm hoping that by Friday we can get one full practice in with everybody and maybe do a walkthrough on Saturday. But really, I'm praying and very hopeful that we can get something together before Saturday.
Did this hit you guys mid-sectional, or did this kind of come on after Saturday?
It was I started to get it right before Saturday. When I got to the gym, before the game, I kind of started feeling my cough, and I was coughing a lot. And then it just Sunday, it just blew up. And so I took my temperature, had a fever.
Oh man.
Couldn't stop coughing. My throat was burning. So, and then I found out all the rest of my teammates had it and knew it was getting around.
They've been dropping like flies because we had we figured out our athletic trainer figured out where it started, and it started with one of the players on Saturday that didn't dress. She didn't dress because she came into our walkthrough on Saturday, and then the trainer sent her home, and that's been the start. And we've had I've seen 1 or 2 each day. Somebody is out. It's just been kind of. I'm hoping that this is the end of it. Hopefully.
Go ahead, Danny.
Coach, Zoie Walls is about 6'6", super sophomore, 20 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. Like, she's just one of the better players in the class. This regional round is always an opportunity to really kind of have coming out parties, if you will. There's going to be a lot more eyes on Zoie than maybe she has deserved maybe going throughout the year. Tell our audience who's going to watch her, maybe some people for the first time, tell us what to expect with Zoie Walls.
I think I've told Zoie on multiple occasions, I think she is one of the most hardworking, high motor individuals that I've ever had opportunity to coach. I said, when we clip tape and we watch tape, I become more and more infatuated with the fact that she just has a non-quit type of attitude when it comes to defending, to run the floor. I mean, her strongest asset is not that she's like a great skill player, because she is, but one of her strongest assets is that she has a motor. like I've never seen. So, I mean, I've told her time and time again, when we start doing clip tapes and things to send out to colleges, some of the things she should send out all the time. And she'll tell you, I go, there's 3 in this game that she'll chase from behind. She'll be like, because we play a lot of full court. And so a lot of times, she might try for a steal on one end, and then before I know it, she's already run the other end and knocked the ball out from behind. So I would say, if you want to watch somebody who's going to like bust it down the court all the time and not take plays off and do things that there's some things that people just say that are just cliche, but she is one of those people that I genuinely think, when that light turns on, that I don't think when we're done, I don't look at Zoie and go, man, you got anything left? Because I know she left it all out on the court.
Yeah. And Zoie, from your perspective, Coach Gibbs talked about, kind of getting out in your athleticism and your motor. You guys do like to play with a lot of pace. It's actually a very fun style, but in quarter court, he's moving you around. You get a lot of middle touch against zone. It collapses around you. You crash the offensive glass really hard. Just kind of talk about how Coach Gibbs's, philosophies and system gives you opportunity to really touch the ball and score the ball and affect the game in different ways in different spots.
I think we're a very athletic team, so we get to run down the court very well, and we all have very good we're all very fast, and so we push the ball very much a lot, and a lot of teams don't like to run, and so we get a lot of transition points off of it. And I think it really helps our team. And especially when other teams aren't fast like us, I don't think a lot of teams expect it from us until they watch the film and realize that we're a fast team and that we want to push the ball and go fast.
Has the illness this week, Zoie, and this wasn't a question that I had written down, I'm just going to ask it based on how this interview started. Has it changed how you prepare? Have you been watching Parke Heritage film now and really kind of preparing from that standpoint? Or have you really just tried to keep it status quo and say, hey, we're going to do us and best version ourselves is going to be the best? How has this week gone for you in preparation for Parke Heritage?
I've been trying to get myself better and help with the other girls, making sure they're okay, tell them to hydrate. I probably drank 20 Gatorade Pedialyte this week or since I've been sick. So and I've watched some film over Parke Heritage, and I've watched a couple of games, finding out what different girls can do, maybe what they can't do, and find weaknesses and what we need to do to stop them from winning and helping us win and just get a regional dub, because last year we went against them and we lost. And we just want revenge, and we want to come out and just win.
Well, let's just keep the conversation going. Parke Heritage, Coach Gibbs, without giving away, trade secrets and identification of strategy. What have you seen early on with Parke Heritage?
Well, it's funny. I just watched part of your podcast with the Parke Heritage coach, and it made me kind of think about, he and I both share the same thing as far as being video junkies. I think he did the coolest thing that I think a coach could do. How normally with Huddle you call other coaches and you get their tape from another team. And I messaged him on Saturday, and he was really cool about it. I said, hey, why don't we just, instead of going through the whole loop of me contacting North Putt, why don't you just send me North Putt? I'll send you ours. And I go, just concoct a list of things that you want, and I'll send you mine. You send me yours. And he was like one of the few coaches that ever just agreed to it. He was like, yep. And so we both have each other's stuff. And so, I really think they're a really solid team all around. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done. I enjoy, and like I said, he talked about his 1-year-old. I have grown kids. So like I have more time. I wouldn't say more time, but I have time. So I'm constantly watching. And like I said, I think they're a very solid, all around talented team. They're not the same team they were last year. Because last year I thought that having a senior laden team last year, they came into that regional last year against us. It was our first time, and we were like, wow, we're here. This is kind of cool. Let's see what we can do. And they were, on the other hand, they're like, we were here the year before and we lost, and this year we're not doing that. So their focus was a lot. I don't want to say our focus was not it wasn't as intense as theirs because we didn't know. But I think this season and our road to get here has been kind of with a focus on that. We didn't know we would be playing them, and we didn't know we'd get there, but that was what we were thinking. And I think we have a different idea of what we're going to do this time around. I think last time we played them, we were kind of more concerned about, they have a kid that plays at Marion College right now. I got to see her play this year, and that she's graduated, but their team was really, really like strong and physical, and they defended like gangbusters. And we hadn't really seen a lot of that going into that. This season, we've changed our schedule a little bit to get that kind of input. We played a couple teams that we added 3 or 4 new teams to our schedule. So I think we've seen almost every style, and the girls have done, I got to give them major credit. When we get down, I don't think they worry about it. I don't think they get flustered. So I think that's helped us a lot. I think we've trailed in, at least out of our 20 wins, or I'd say we've trailed in over half of them. So, we've done a great job, or I should say they've done a great job of like fighting through all the adversity and getting to this point.
Daryl, when it comes to constructing a schedule, and I think you mentioned this too in your questionnaire when I talked to you at the beginning of the season, but is that something that it's like you've seen what this group is capable of? Now it's time to kind of push them and prepare them for getting over that region hump, for getting them, to where you guys want to be at the end of the year?
Yes, sir. I think it's built a confidence in them that they know. We played, the example I use is we played Southmont later this season. That was a late ad. We had an extra game. And when we played them at that time, I think they were 16-1 when we played them. And so it was kind of like a game that you go into that game against somebody that's 16-1, you're like, okay. So, and in that game, they actually they played the girls. That was the best game. That when people ask me what the turning point of the season was for us, I think that game made us realize that if we do the things that we're supposed to do on the court, we can be successful. And then I think we went on and we lost to an Edgewood team that was that Edgewood team had, I honestly am not even kidding when I say I think they had 9 seniors. And that was one of those teams where, again, we're not young, but we're not old either. So that team kind of, they put it to us a little bit, and it ended up. But even then, we fought through it and we made it a game. And towards the end, we had a chance. So I think the schedule has kind of made us. I want to say it's prepared us for. I want to say you never know what's going to happen, but I believe that we're as prepared moving forward as we could be going into this regional.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Daryl and Zoie, thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. Zoie, I hope that you get feeling better, kid. I hope
better.
Yeah, hopefully everybody gets feeling better.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, that's crappy timing, man. But best of luck to you guys here this weekend, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon.
All right, thank you, sir, for having us.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Daryl Gibbs, Zoie Wall with us here on the score table. Poor kid.
Yeah, man. The light like that was on in her bedroom was probably the first time that light's been on all day. It's probably been dark with the curtains drawn. I think this is one of the more interesting matchups. Parke Heritage versus Monrovia on Saturday in the 2A South there. The first thing I would tell you is Boost and Bark and Walls. They're both young. They're both sophomores. We're going to see this thing for the next couple of years. So if you want to see an early chapter in the book, maybe it's an indicator of what we see maybe junior and senior year with these same 2 players. But this is styles makes fights. Parke Heritage and Monrovia. Monrovia likes to play with pace. They like to run. It's a man-to-man basketball team. They will get out. They have two really good guards that will push the floor. Talked about the athleticism of Zoie Walls. Parke Heritage is very different. Okay, they play 6 players. They're pack lining in zone more often than not. It's paint congestion. It's just a simply slower possession to possession kind of ground and pound game. So I think Parke Heritage probably wants to play this thing if they can in the 30s and 40s. I think Monrovia wants to get this thing into the 50s and 60s, and we'll see which style kind of comes out. But very contrasting styles, and we'll see which style wins out in the end.
That's going to be a really good one. I tell you what, Danny, another one that I'm really excited about is Evansville Mater Dei versus North Knox. And we're joined now by Izzy Like and Addi Boots from Evansville Mater Dei as they prepare for North Knox. Girls, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Great. Thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. How are the first couple days of regional preparation going?
Very intense.
Very.
Mater Dei, Danny, caught my attention at the beginning of the year when they're going out and they're picking off teams like Roncalli, like South Knox at the beginning of the year. Yep. Girls, if you could just talk to us about the evolution of your season and just kind of the confidence and how you've seen this team develop here over the past 2-3 months.
Yeah, so we focus a lot on defense, and we practiced every single day in the summer, had weights after, so we've really worked hard to get to this point. So we're just excited to see the hard work paying off.
Izzy, you guys had that little stretch there where you're playing some really good teams, but taking loss. I think it was 4 or 5 there at the beginning of the year. What was the team's response to that, and what did you take away from that stretch?
I think we were really just focused on paying attention on the little details to make sure that would go into the game. And after winning the first few games, we had to really stay focused. We took a bad loss to Forest Park. We were not prepared. We came off the South Knox win, and we didn't really have our heads focused during that game. But ever since then, I think we turned a switch, and we really saw that we need to stay focused.
Addi, you referenced it. You talked about Mater Dei and how you guys identify on the defensive side. You guys haven't lost a game in Indiana since December 11th. And so and it seems to be, as you watch you on film and you see the scores, it seems to be more of a commitment on the defensive side. You're one of the best defensive basketball teams that's left in this tournament, regardless of class. What's the secret sauce there? Is it Coach Terry? Is it just your personnel? Talk to us about that side of the floor, because you guys guard, and it's fun to see.
Yeah, I think it's both our personnel and our coach. Our coach really ingrains of defense turns into offense, because we're more of a fast break team. So we like to get out and run, get steals, get layups, and defense just really helps us do that.
Well, I got to follow up on Terry. This is his first season, and he just waltzes in there and wins 20 games in his first season. Can you just tell us what it's like playing for Terry Munsterman? And obviously, where I'm going with this is that last name should resonate with every Indiana girls high school basketball fan across the state because of Mara Munsterman. Just talk about Terry, what he's like. Just kind of fill us in on what he's all about.
Well, Terry, he's pretty serious, and he definitely keeps us humble. After a few of the sectional wins against South Spencer, he was just forget about it on the way back. He's like, this means nothing if we don't win against North Posey. Yeah. So, yeah.
Izzy, I've got a question for Addi, or a question for you about Addi. Okay.
Right.
She is, I think, the lone senior. It might be the lone senior in the starting lineup, but I let's just say am I wrong, Addi? Are you the only senior?
No, there's some more seniors.
Okay. The lone senior in the starting lineup, then I apologize. But Izzy, you guys are junior led. I mean, Addi obviously plays a very big role. Can you talk about what it would mean to bring a regional championship to your senior class that's probably meant so much to you and your program?
Yeah, our team is really close, and it's not something you see all the time. We bond all the time. And at practice, it's not, it's serious, but we know how to have a good time. But ever since the beginning of the season, we worked really hard. So especially after winning sectionals, seeing the hard work pay off is really exciting, especially when we have the last year with the seniors, and we just want to keep going so we don't have to leave them yet.
And Addi, I'll let you talk about Izzy and reciprocate, the nice things there. But in the top left-hand corner of our screen right now, I mean, that is as good of a floor general as there is. I mean, it's TJ McConnell in the top left-hand corner, the leadership. I mean, Izzy you can see it when you watch on film. Every free throw, every dead ball. When a kid misses a shot, she's giving him a high five, saying something to him. She is talking to everybody at all times. Can you talk about Izzy's leadership and what it means to your entire basketball team? Because it was exceptional. It shows on film. So Izzy, congratulations. But Addi,
thank you.
Brag on your point guard.
Yes, I will. Izzy is such a leader out there. I mean, you don't have to say it. You can definitely see it. Everybody, I mean, even on the other team knows Izzy is definitely our leader. And even though I'm a senior and she's a junior, like I still look up to her as being a leader.
It seems like with you guys being a defensive-minded team that the offensive production that swings a basketball game could come from anywhere. Like the sectional semifinal against South Spencer, it was Leah Heldman. Izzy, you're the leading scorer on the team. Addi, you hit the big 3 in the sectional championship at the end of the third quarter. That made it a 5-point game. It was never closer. I mean, it's just 3 different players from an offensive production standpoint that affect the outcome of the game. So just one comment from each of you about maybe your teammates and their roles on the basketball team.
Yeah. I think we really can just like depend on each other. If I'm having an off game and I can't make a shot, I know that one of them is going to step up and hit the shots that we needed. Like in sectional game, I was getting scouted, I think, pretty hard. And Leah stepped up really big in those last 2 games and was hitting really big shots. Same with Addi. She had that big 3 against North Posey that really set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and definitely whenever the 3-point shooters, like we aren't hitting, then Madeline and Kirsten down low will help us out and get some easy buckets too.
Izzy, I'll let you answer this and I'll throw it back to Hank so he can start spinning it forward to Saturday. I have to ask about the sectional championship game. You got at the half, you guys are 3 of 22 from the field. You guys are 1 for 10 from the 3-point line. Like that's nightmare fuel in a big game like that. Take me into the locker room. What was the mood? What were the talking points? What was your leadership? What were you telling your teammates? Just take us there because 3 for 22 is.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We were definitely getting like angry at like all the calls and how no shots were falling. It was like a lid was on the goal. But when we got in the locker room, I would say we were still pretty calm. I think we all knew that we had each other and the game wasn't over yet. We still had a whole half to go. So Terry and all of us, we weren't really out. We knew we weren't out of it. So we were just telling each other to pick each other up and that we had to come out really strong. And we knew from there, if we could get everything to start going, that we would be okay.
Addi, North Knox, just your initial thoughts on them. What stands out to you when you guys watch them on film?
Yeah, so they're definitely like a run and jump team. They like to get after on defense. So they play a lot like us. They're a very good defensive team, and they can hit some big threes and get out and run. So it'll be interesting.
Izzy guarded Lexi Premise obviously draws a lot of the attention, a lot of the headlines. Is she comparable to any other kids or any other matchups that you guys have had this season?
Yeah. Emily Parker from Boomville, she was one that we had to really focus on guarding because she's their main scorer, and we had to really focus on that. So I think I think our scouts well prepared, and we're gonna see what happens from there.
And then Addi, one more for you. When you started in this program, obviously you guys have had a couple relatively down seasons, at least compared to this season. When you're going through those growing pains, could you kind of envision this a sectional championship, a potential shot at a regional title? Could you see that in the cards, or were there times when you weren't sure if you get to experience this sort of thing as a high school basketball player?
Yeah, I mean, there was kind of a lot of hype around us, I'd say, my freshman and sophomore year. So I kind of thought we would get one early on, but, I mean, it never happened. And we had a lot of coaching changes, so it was kind of hard for us to all, like, get together and bond. But this year, really, we've all stepped it up because we all really want one really bad.
How do you handle that when you're cycling through the coaches? So this is your third coach in 4 years, or is this 4 and 4?
This is our 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess just for both of you guys, how do you handle that when you have so many changes in leadership?
Yeah, it's definitely hard, but that just means we all the players have to come together and we really have to bond and connect, even with the coaching changes.
Izzy, what about you? How did you guys get through that?
I think the biggest thing was relying on each other. We'd all been through the same thing. Last year was pretty rough, and just knowing that we have a good, strong coaching staff and that they're prepared for the games, we're prepared for the games, and we all just came together, and I think everything really just clicked this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Izzy and Addi, thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. It was great talking with you guys, and best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck, girls.
Thank you.
Izzy Addi Boots with us here on the scores table. Danny, your thoughts?
Well, I hope Izzy wants to be a coach, because I will try to hire her at some point in time. The kid is a floor general. She's really fun to watch. I said styles make fights when I talked about Parke Heritage and Monrovia. I think there's a lot of similarities with Modern Day and North Knox. The girls referenced it. Their film study is the same thing that I saw. They actually said the words, I think they're a lot like us. Here's the difference, and here's the what to watch. North Knox scored 70 on South Knox earlier in the tournament in the sectional semifinal at Eastern Green High School. They unfolded offensively on them. Interestingly, Modern Day does have the capability to go out and get 70, but North Knox more frequently have really had these kind of offensive explosions. Being able to guard an Emily Parker for Boonville, being able to guard a singular basketball player on the other side, I think is something that Modern Day can do and will do. Jade Richter, Bailey McClure, Lexi Primus, Yeaney, the freshman who had 15 against South Knox, they are really playing well on the offensive side. Without really going through a full film study on what they did against Linton, I was very impressed with North Knox and their ability on the offensive side. But what does North Knox do to guard Modern Day also? We've already seen changes with what Steve was going to do. They do run and jump a little bit. They do switch things. Against South Knox, they stayed home and fought over on screens. Not a lot of double on Kendall. It was really just Lexi that kind of had that individual assignment. So being able to guard a basketball team that has Lexi, Jade, Yeaney, and McClure and company, I think we're going to see just how proficient Modern Day can be on the defensive side, because they're going to have to be to win this game.
Drawing a comparison to the matchup that we talked about earlier in the show, this one's a lot different, whereas Monrovia, Parke Heritage has a young team versus an old team, or an older team, not an old team that's young. Now you have two old teams. These are old teams.
Good call.
One senior, a bunch of juniors on the Evansville Modern Day side, a lot of seniors on the North Knox side. I'm curious to see. I mean, that lends itself, I think, to some more drama and probably a closer finish. And it's going to be, I think points are going to be a little bit hard to come by just with how Modern Day runs that defense. Because, I mean, again, those are some big-time teams that they beat. I remember the Roncalli game. That one jumped out immediately. The South Knox win at the beginning of the season, which kind of led into a little bit of a down stretch for them when they lost 4 of 5, with the one win coming against Roncalli. I mean, that was a really good win against a really good South Knox team. So I am fascinated how that unfolds, the defensive side of things, but I am expecting kind of a low-scoring game in that section, or in that regional championship game. Evansville Modern Day, by the way, looking for their first regional championship since 2019. They won a state title back in 2013. On the North Knox side, they won a regional title back in 2023. Have not gone further than that. So a little bit of history, not too deep and extensive in terms of droughts, but a little fun storyline there for Saturday. That's what they call killing time, folks, and not getting distracted because you're ADD to the max right now. Danny, let's while we wait for Justin Jordan to hop on with us, let's talk a little bit about Whitko Eastside. You touched on it a little bit before. A rematch from last year's semi-state championship game. Eastside likes to get out and go. Whitko has gone largely untouched this season. They have the Stonebreaker sisters. Eastside is a wagon. Just your thoughts on that game.
Eastside runs a very nice 5-out. I think they have very good spatial awareness. They collapse and kick. They penetrate and they penetrate into the paint, but it's seemingly on the backside of that, it sounds like an easy system. one of the little nuanced things that I see from Eastside is all of their players that are moving in vision of the driver. Like they get a lot of direct line passes on those kicks. Eastside does shoot a lot of threes, and one of the reasons why they do so is because they move so well off the basketball. That's not like learning how to take flare screens and learning how to take double stagger screens. Sometimes it's just moving a yard to the left so the pass is a direct line pass. Their ability to make threes against, because here's the thing, Justin's going to guard you. And when they guard, and when Whitko guards you and they get up into space, they are going to give up some driving opportunities at times. If they dedicate 2 in a jump trap and you make the right read out of 2, now you're putting a kid in a downhill. So this game to me really is fascinating at the beginning because we get to see Eastside play against a team who plays really right into the hands of what they want to do, which is get downhill, get 2 feet in the paint, find shooters around them, and we'll see if Eastside can do it. You're muted.
Jeez Louise. This is amateur hour over here. I don't know what I'm doing. With that, Danny, we're going to bring on our friend Justin Jordan from Whitko. And now the camera isn't showing up. Gee. Oh, there he is. Hey, Justin, what's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
What's up, my guy?
How you doing, buddy? How are things?
Not much. I'm good, man. We just got to get done wrapping up practice here at Warsaw, so getting ready to get into it.
That's right. It's at the Tiger Den.
That's fantastic. So
yeah,
we've seen the record. We've seen the record. Obviously, we had a chance to catch up a little bit earlier this year, but just with this group, what strides have you seen them take following last year's run to the semi-state championship game?
Yeah, man. Obviously last year, in how we wanted it to, and I had to switch up some things that I normally would like to do that I did this year defensively, playing a little bit more faster and getting after it. We played primarily man to man, but just probably how connected our group is, and then I knew at the end of the last year I was returning, 80% of my roster. So, when I got that coming back with a couple other pieces, it helped out big time. But the biggest thing this year has just been how connected they've been defensively and then as a team.
What were the things that because we were kind of sharing some thoughts back and forth on text, and you were talking about, I was staggered when you're like, we're not like Danny, we're not running any zone this year. Cause I saw you were like checking up full court and you were jump trapping, and it was a very endearing style of play to my eye. What led you to that decision to let him check up?
Last year, and it's not a knock on my seniors. I had a couple of girls last year that just weren't as athletic as what the girls are this year. And then when we got into it in June ball, when we were doing stuff, the first thing I said was, we got a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism, and then there was really no drop off. So I'm big man to man. I hate playing zone. Hate it. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you need to win games as a high school coach. So last year, I had to play primarily a little bit more zone than what I've liked. But this year, they won in the June ball. The first thing I kind of said, I was like, we got way more speed than what we've got. So I just wanted to utilize that. And then I bring in 3 or 4 kids off the bench, and there's really no drop off. We get right to it, and they know you're in control of your playing time. You play hard, you're diving on the ground, you're going to play. But if you're out there messing around, come and watch the game with the rest of us, and then we'll go from there.
One of the athletic pieces that you added was Kyra Lowe. I'll first ask you for an injury update. Share what you can without violating HIPAA and all of that. But her addition has to. I mean, that has to be a lot of it, JJ. Right? I mean, she's really something on the defensive side.
Yeah, she's huge, man. Getting her was, like I said, we were still gonna be pretty good, but getting her was just more incentive. She's really good on ball. Her, Hazel Leffers, my sophomore, and then Jama Stonebreaker, those 3, they fight over who's gonna guard the best players each game. Fight. So when you've got that going on, it's huge, man. But she's also just so unselfish. She's a really good passer. She sees the floor really well, but she's been a huge asset. She we thought she broke her finger last Tuesday. It ended up just being a sprain. She played through it. She played through it last week, and then this week I just kind of told her like, you're not gonna do anything live. Like I just got her running up the stairs and doing crunches and stuff. So she's been mad at me this week. So
She'll be all right Saturday. I mean, maybe when she's on a
yeah,
ladder.
yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
Justin, I got a question for you, and you can take it in any direction that you want. But as you advance further in the tournament, the spotlight on you gets a little bit brighter, and then people play catch up. What's the deal with Whitko? How come they're not losing at all? And then sometimes some people don't even know your personnel. And the first thing out of most people's mouths are the Stonebreaker sisters. It's just, it's naturally, they carry the headlines for your team onto other markets, and the Indianapolis market is included. What do we need to know about the Stonebreaker sisters if we were to turn on the Whitko film and the Whitko stream and watch it? Tell us what we need to know when watching that game about these kids.
Yeah, those two are just winners. There's been games this year where and obviously like people probably look and they see that the two of them lead us in scoring, but our last 10 or 11 games I've had a different leading scorer each game. They're unselfish, man. They don't care what's going on. There might be a time where one of them's off offensively, but then like they might have 6 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 6 or 7 deflections. They're just all over the place, and they just want to win. And that's what we have been lacking the first couple years. And going into it now, like I said, they're just winners. We lost our second game of the season to Columbia City, which is a big county rival game. And you'd have thought we lost the NCAA championship game. They were so mad. And then since then we just been rolling. But the girls feed off of them when we're playing really, really well. They can't they might not even be hitting shots, but if they're getting a couple steals and then hitting girls in transition, then we're really tough to beat.
And you heard my early read on Eastside. What's your early read on Eastside?
Again, man, and I'm superstitious, fellas. Last year we talked, they beat us after I got done talking to y'all. So hopefully we flip this narrative. But um, Coach Lordy does a hell of a job scouting. They do a really good job. They graduated a lot of kids though last year. We're not the same team, obviously, this year. Like I said, returned most of my girls, and then obviously with the addition of Kyra Lowe. But it's going to be a dogfight again. They play really hard. He does this year. He's playing a little bit more zone than what he does. I know what I've seen the games the last couple times. They're playing a little bit of matchup 1-3-1. I don't know what the status is of the kitchen girl because she went down with it looked like a nasty knee injury in the championship game. So, but I'm gonna anticipate she's gonna play because she's a tough kid. But really, it's the kitchen and then Taylor Mack. Those are the two horses that we got to try to slow down. And we're gonna continue to do our thing. We're gonna come after them defensively. The offense will take care of itself. Like I said, we move the ball, but for me, it starts on the defense, and then you got to get after it. That's what wins these games.
No doubt.
Justin, do you notice a difference in the way that your team has approached preparations for this round of the tournament, even through sectional, after having done it last year? Like, is there a bit more of an edge, so to speak?
Yeah, there's an edge, but also I think with us, there's more of the girls are expecting to be there. And instead of just embracing the moment, they're expecting to be there. We won the sectional, and they were all like, "Let's get ready to go for let's get ready to start getting loose." And I'm like, we don't play for a whole nother week. What are you talking about getting loose? So they expect to be there. So with them this year, for me, usually I'm coaching every possession, sweating my ass off, and saying words that I shouldn't be saying in huddles or whatever. This year I've been a little bit more, for the most part, laid back and let them kind of play through stuff. But there's just I'd say probably a little bit more swag with them, so to speak. So and there's times too I gotta tell them like, look, it's cool to be. Cool to be a little bit, cocky, but at the end of the day, like we ain't won nothing yet. You guys got to take care of the job first.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Justin, it was great to see you. Thanks so much for hopping on with us, and best of luck here this weekend.
Appreciate it, fellas. It's good seeing both of y'all, man. I appreciate you guys.
Good luck,
Absolutely.
JJ.
Take care. Justin Jordan, head coach of Whitko, with us here on the scorers table. Closing thoughts on that matchup, Danny?
That defense is awesome. I raved about them a month ago. I haven't stopped since I first saw them on film. I was so impressed. I actually texted Justin. We had a little exchange. He corroborated the things that I saw. Look, and they beat Northrop this year. twice. I mean, they've beaten some really good basketball teams. They're 24-1, and their only loss was on November 15th before Thanksgiving, and they've been killing people. Their defense is so difficult. And I'll tell you why. It isn't necessarily because they will turn you over a bunch of times. They certainly do turn you over. But particularly in these lower classes, pace isn't, you don't want to play with a lot of it. I think it's more in these lower classes, more of a ground game, more of a possession to possession, dead ball change of possession kind of thing. That's not what Whitko wants to be. Whitko wants possessions in the game. They want to try to run up and down the floor. And it's very Indiana Pacers like with what we saw when they were making the run toward the NBA Finals is we are used to playing at this pace all season. You're not. And so that's going to be an advantage. One last point before we move on to the next game. The Stonebreaker sisters have a ton of experience playing in the Tiger Den. Before they ended up at Whitko, they had played there quite a bit. And so I would expect a big night for Whitko. Eastside's got their hands full, not only from a record perspective, style perspective, but all of the intangible things that lead into this matchup really kind of point in Whitko's favor. So let's keep an eye on Eastside, because if they pull it off, they're probably going to lead the show the next day.
One more closing thought for me before we move on to Lapel versus Rensselaer Central. It was interesting hearing Justin talk about his team this year versus last year. Like he kind of mentioned with the players, and it wasn't just happy to be there, but it was a lot different energy. Like it was just kind of like, this is fun. We're enjoying it. And this year it is a little bit more of that, like he said, as girls wanting to stretch out and get ready for the next game after winning a sectional championship game when they have a week off. A little bit more of that energy, which is kind of fun to see and fun to hear, year over year. Because last year it was literally all brand new. Whitko had never done that before. It'd been a while, I think, even since they had like a winning season, I want to say, just the quick turnaround thing there. So it was kind of cool from a coaching side of things, reading between the lines and analyzing just how it's kind of matured, changed, whatever word you want to use, year over year. Shifting over now to another really good Class 2A game. There are some bangers on this 2A schedule. Lapel versus Rensselaer Central. You have Lanaya Wills looking to extend her career for Lapel. On the other side, you have a Rensselaer Central team that was there last year. They returned nearly everyone from that team. Kamri Rowland, who we'll have here in a second, Courtney, Matthews, both having phenomenal seasons. They'll be with here in a second. Radke has really stepped up her game. Brody Radke, her development offensively has been big for them. I had a chance to see them against Hamilton Heights, and just kind of the clutch shooting really stood out in that game. And then again, what they're able to do defensively with that length and the way that coach runs his zone defenses at teams is always a fascinating thing to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned Wills, and I think Wills's role within Lapel also provides a bit of historical repetitiveness. In the same round last year, I referenced it earlier in the episode, Rensselaer Central played Alexandria, where they had Jack Hosier, who was leading them in rebounding, leading them in assists, was over 25 points per game, and just a real central piece. And then disposed of Alexandria in the same round to move on to the semi-state. It's a very similar matchup with Rensselaer Central having to deal with the statistical effectiveness of Lanaya Wills with scoring the ball and rebounding the ball and passing the ball and stealing the ball. I mean, the kid does everything, right? And so that, I think, is probably the headline going into it, is you have this team of Rensselaer Central. They don't have a 20-point average scorer on the team. Their balance has been here. They do whatever they need to win the basketball game. Here you have Lapel on the other side, who is really riding the dominance of one player who they're really trying to catch in a bottle right now. Can Lanaya Wills be the best player in the class for these last 2 weeks of the season? Because if she is, they're going to be a problem. So just kind of an interesting kind of symmetrical thing, because Rensselaer Central just did this against Alexandria 365 days ago.
What's interesting about Lapel, and we'll talk about Newby about this too, but just the way that she's kind of brought along the other kids now, and you see them stepping up a little bit, Strandy Conyers, Layla Dawson, some of the other kids around her. Yep. That was the big thing last year after they graduated. Maddie Pointer was just Lanaya's role in maturing as leader herself, and how she had to bring along those younger kids and foster them through what was a rebuilding year. On the other side, Rensselaer Central's already been through all that. They have kids who are experienced from that state runner-up run. Yep. They're hungry for it. They're very laser focused, and it's a very senior driven team. Like I think we played the sounder. You and I talked about it. Just Courtney talking about her seniors. She got a little choked up talking about them after that conference championship game. It was special to hear that, just how much they care for each other and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned Courtney. Courtney Mathew on the Rensselaer Central side is a kid who maybe statistically doesn't affect the game to the level that Lanaya Wills does, but schematically and strategically affects it just as much as anybody else in the state. She drew the Grace Detweiler matchup in the state championship. That was something that Holly did because she knew how important she was. Courtney probably will get get if Newby plays, might get the Lanaya matchup. It'll be interesting to see. I would suspect Rensselaer Central is going to collapse on top of Lanaya and try to see if she can go out and dole out 14 or 15 assists in this game. That would be my guess with what Coach Radke would do. I'm sure Newby probably feels the same way. We'll see if Courtney Mathew gets the same kind of treatment from Newby. If she does have the space to operate, that could be a difference maker that could sway the game in either direction.
With that, Danny, we're going to go ahead and bring on Courtney Mathew, Kamri Rowland from Rensselaer Central. Girls, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. How's regional prep going?
It's been good. Just getting in the gym, kind of just taking one practice at a time, just staying at it, getting shots up, stuff like that.
Courtney, I'll start with you. I know we've talked about this before, but how has this team grown and improved even from last season to this season?
It's grown a lot. Losing 3 major seniors, I think Kamri and Brody really stepped up, took on the lead of our leaders of the team. They use their voices really well, keep each other up, keep each other's heads high. So they're doing a really good job.
How much do you guys carry what happened, how your season ended last year to South Knox? Hank picked you in the state championship game. You guys had a lot of supporters kind of heading. I mean, I'm just talking about Rensselaer Central people. There are a lot of people that liked you in that game because you guys played so well kind of leading up to it, and the outcome didn't swing in your favor. How much are you guys carrying that with you this year?
I think we carry it with us a lot, but it's also a new year. We can't look too far back on it because, the people that did get to be a part of that, we all know is something really special and really just a great environment for everyone to be in. So I think it's something we definitely look at to want to go back to, definitely for sure, but it's not something that we try to harp on too much because it is in the past now.
Courtney, we had Coach Radke on last year. I don't know why I remember this, but I do. He was on here because he was saying things that I say as I'm a really difficult person to play for. I'm never happy. I'm never satisfied. Courtney, do you think he's happy right now?
I mean, I think he's happy, but I think he's hungry for more. I know he definitely wants to go back to state. I think he's just pushing us to do our best. So, I mean, I know he's happy with what we've accomplished already, but he definitely wants more.
Speaking of that, and parlaying off Danny's first question too, has it been difficult to not catch yourselves looking ahead? With everything that you brought back kind of being, favorites in 2A, has it been easy to kind of live in the present and not get too far ahead of yourselves between either looking up or ahead of teams or just kind of, enjoying the moment kind of thing?
I think as a senior, it's kind of been easy for me to live in the present, just knowing that now that we're in postseason, this any game could be my last game. So kind of just playing with that mentality and also going into every practice like that. So I think our coach does a really good job at just keeping us kind of set at one game at a time. Doesn't matter who we're playing, going with the same mindset every game. So I think we live in the present.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we're not promised another game, so I think we're just really focused on what we're doing now and not getting too far ahead of ourselves.
Was it easy to do that during the regular season?
I think so, but it's also we get we'll always talk and we're so excited for postseason, it's just not that we look past games, but it is fun to talk about with our teammates because we are all so competitive. So I think it's adding in that postseason pressure. I think it is really fun to talk about too.
Courtney, top line of the scouting report. Many of them have your name. Talk about your approach to games, where your game is, how you feel about it, maybe some of the different looks that you've been getting. But give us the Courtney Mathew update from your own perspective.
I think being the point guard and one of the leaders on the team, I'm just trying to keep all the pressure like down, keep myself calm, and not let all the stress get to me. My job is to control our team a little bit and help lead everyone. So I try not to like listen to what everyone is saying. So I try to
Like
keep
me.
my team. Yeah.
Like me. Well, and I'll say something that you can, and I think it's important that you can refute this, quite honestly. But I talked about how one of the things is going to be your presence on the floor and Lanaya Wills' presence on the floor. Is that something that you're conscious of? This is one of the most dominant players that 2A on the North Side has seen in the last decade. Or is this just another game for you? Or are you just kind of, or are you really kind of diving into this is what she does and this is how she's going to affect me and how I can affect her? I'd like to hear both of your comments really on Lanaya.
Yeah, I mean, we've been scouting her. We know her tendencies, but I don't really think that like, wow, she's like this great player. I just think for as anyone else, don't get too ahead of myself.
I think coming in, like I said, like with the same mindset as every game is just like coming in very set on the goal, and that's to win. So I think all the girls have been doing really good at practice, just pushing us and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she's obviously a great player and has a lot of skill. She's proven that all season, but I think that we have a lot of good players too. So I think, again, just coming into it like any other game and just kind of keeping our heads on right. So
Where's the game?
Lapel.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm going to ask you. This was a storyline that Hank and I had kind of carried through the sectionals, that you want to try to avoid playing a team in a big basketball game that, whether they're an underdog or not, particularly this late, on their home floor. If you turned on the Frankton game in the sectional championship, Lapel had a very good showing. Rensselaer, you guys showed last year, your support within your community is great. Do you think this is going to be a true road game, or you think you're going to pull an Indiana Hoosiers football thing and kind of take over that building?
I think our fan base is awesome. Like, there's so many people already talking about them coming, and it's like noon, right?
Yeah, it's at noon.
So I think a lot of people will be coming, and I think another topic is like there's a lot of college kids that go to IU Bloomington and like schools around Indy. So Taylor, she played with us last year, so she's at UIndy. So we're kind of hoping that she comes along and maybe she doesn't have a game or something to come watch. But so I think, honestly, we travel really, really well. Mm-hmm. So whether or not it's a home game or an away game, I think our fan base is really, really good at making it feel like a home game every single game.
Kamri, you and Courtney, will throw Radke in there. I mean, those are three players that were in the starting lineup in the state championship game last year. Before I throw it back to Hank, give me an opportunity. Give us an X Factor kid, somebody that's newer to your roster that's really contributed, and you really couldn't be in this round without their performances.
Obviously, we've had Courtney Mathew. She's great point guard. I like to describe her as like the energy bunny. She's always just keeping us on track. Great point guard, great athlete. I think, like you guys have said, like it's very like everyone can tell like what her presence brings to a basketball game. So just like having her on our team obviously is really important. And then you have Brody, who she brings the intensity. You know, she will do anything to win, and I think that is something that like not everybody has. So having that on your team is very like it's very good to have a player like her on our side. And then Olivia Kane, I think she's had a great season too. I'm personally expecting her to like score a little bit more next game. I think over the past couple games, we're going to need her to score too. Mm-hmm. Bryn Webb, you throw her in there. She's had a couple games where she's really hit some really good shots. And then Kinsley Metzger.
Her defense has been outstanding these past few games. Her energy has been really well. Her pressure on defense has been doing really well. She
had a really, really big three, the BC sectional championship game. So I think like that alone shows that, you know, she's a sophomore coming in, didn't get much time last year, but she came in with a great mindset and she told us, like me before the game, I said, you come in, like, just do your best, you know, 110% effort every time you come in. And she did that. She does that every time she comes in. So there's a lot of girls that can come off the bench. And I know every single time they come in, like, they're going to give us everything they got because we are so close.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Courtney and Kamri, thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. It was great catching up, and best of luck here this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, girls.
Thank you.
And there we go. Danny, thoughts? We have a little bit of time to kill here before Newby comes on with us.
What a matchup.
Yeah.
Like what a matchup. So Rensselaer Central, in my opinion, is a week ahead of where we had projected them last year. So let me rephrase. When we watched this round last year and saw Rensselaer Central foul Hosier out and really give her problems and then advance into it, that started the whole Rensselaer Central might be the best team in the class conversation. And it carried all the way through 3 more basketball games, the 2 in the semi-state and then the 1 in the state championship game. Yes, they've had some graduation, but it really starts with Courtney Mathew. Like it really does. This kid she can affect the game. I mean, she's not like a dead eye 3-point shooter. You know, she's not. And when we talk about some other kids, in some of the other games, like there's a kid down at Trinity Lutheran shooting 45%. They played against another kid who's shooting 48% from 3. Like that's not who she is, right? But the opportunities that Rowland gets, the opportunities that Radke gets, many times is through the creation of Courtney Mathew. People have heard me say that I think she's one of the 5 best point guards in the class. That in the class part of that saying, we're getting closer and closer to removing that. She might just be one of the best point guards in the state. Like the kid's really, really good, and it's no secret why Rensselaer Central is going to be there. And I think the way that Newby decides to guard against her, does he dedicate Lania Wills to her? Does he dedicate 2 other defenders to her? Does he drape zone? Is it odd front, even front? The decisions that Newby has to make in defending Courtney Mathew can go a long ways to predicting how effective Rensselaer Central can be and therefore subsequently Lapel.
You mentioned too last year they got Hosier in foul trouble. It's interesting to see how aggressively Rensselaer Central rolls at Lania, because she's had the games that I've seen her the tendency to get into foul trouble early, then get back into foul trouble late, has to sit out. That happened in that Eastern Hancock game when they came back a little bit. It happened a couple of times with Wings and Rings too, where she gets into foul trouble and has to sit. So how aggressively does Rensselaer Central and how do they attack her? Because the best way to contain a kid like Lania Wills is to get her off the floor. Literally the only way to get her off the floor is to get her into foul trouble, because that kid isn't coming out the floor. And even then, just knowing Lania, she's going to find a way to get that thing done. Real quickly here, while we are waiting for Newby to hop on with us, Danny's going to have a thought on Trinity Lutheran. I'll tease out the guest list that we have tomorrow night for Class 4A. While we're waiting here, we'll start at 6 p.m. We're going to have Lily Graves, Jeff Canoy from McCutcheon, Bailey Hape from Evansville Wrights, Shayna Williams and Anaya Bennett from Connorsville, Penn's Christy Ulrich and Jillian Sanderson, Christy Sigler, Molly Ernstis from Jennings County, Andy Heim, Katie Kitson from Belmont, Nick Rogers from Pentland Heights, and we're going to bring it home with Jess D'Armelio and Stephen Thomas. We're going to do kind of a 4A roundtable. Those two have somehow played a schedule where I think they played darn near every team in 4A and a couple of the teams that are still standing in 3A between the two of them. So that's kind of remarkable, and they're just fun conversations too. So we're going to have them along to kind of break it down with us, because Danny and I have realized we're beginning to exhaust our talking points and research on some of these teams. So it's never bad to get another perspective on those teams. Danny, I will let you vamp on Trinity Lutheran.
Yeah, Trinity Lutheran is a really, if you look at Harold's tournament predictors, they're a team that the statistics and the computers really like. And so I wanted to try to talk about them a little bit. I had an opportunity to watch their sectional championship game. First off, Matt Trimnell with the high top Panda Jordans in the game was I'm going to expect something from him to top that. But his team is fun to watch on film. They've got a kid by the name of Marley Warren who's just straight balling right now. Like she didn't have the game high or the team high in the sectional championship game, but she's shooting 45% from the 3-point line. She's scoring from all over. And by the way, that 45% is on 160 attempts. Like that, like she is firing the basketball and connecting. An interesting point about Trinity Lutheran is they have 2 sets of sisters in their starting 5. So Marley Warren has a sister, and the next kid I'm going to talk about, Rachel Bondi, also has a sister. So there's actually only 3 families represented in the starting 5 for Trinity Lutheran. I think they only play 6 players. I'll tell you a story that, I was talking to Matt in the summer, and he was telling me about this Bondi kid, and I can't remember the exact details of the conversation. I was like, I think this kid can be really good, and she's a tremendous volleyball player. I guess she probably projects to be a Division I volleyball player. Rachel Bondi's really, really good. Like, she's right-handed. She finishes great with the left hand in traffic. She's got volleyball athleticism, and what I mean by that is she's very quick to jump off of 2 feet. She affects the glass in such a big way. A lot of times with these Class A and Class 2A teams, I had referenced it in the beginning of the show when talking about Oak Hill. You have 5 kids that are 5'6" to 5'7", all the way across, and they're running 5-out stuff, or somebody's playing out of position. That's not Trinity Lutheran. They are constructed like a real basketball team with shooters and length. They do have 2 post players that they run some kind of high-low actions for. Trinity Lutheran is a nice little group, and I don't know how the draw is going to come out. I don't know if Trinity Lutheran will beat Tinley. I think the computers really like them. But this could be one of the teams that could really stare Borden down and give them problems. I like Trinity Lutheran this year.
I wrote about it going into sections. I think we talked about briefly on the show, but you mentioned the Bondi sisters. And I mean, just this is a program that has a lot of championship experience, because Emerson Warren also was on that state volleyball team. They're back-to-back champions, so they're familiar with this big game atmosphere and those big game moments. I'm going to sneeze here, Danny, so I'll let you take it for a couple seconds. I'll bring on Zach.
And I couldn't I couldn't locate the sectional championship game that Tinley played in. I would have loved to be able to break down what Trinity Lutheran has to do to get Marley Warren threes, or how they would defend Rachel Bondi. And one might say, well, you just watched a game late in January. The last game you could get was actually in 2025. I know officially 0 about Tinley. So if somebody's like, well, you're only talking about Trinity Lutheran or whatever, it's because they provide accessibility to their stuff. So we're going to break them down.
Yeah, the accessibility component is tough. I have a story coming out with Erin Miller, rebuff. For those who aren't aware, she dealt with breast cancer earlier in the season and over the summer. But we kind of talked about that, and just not having a stream for that Lebanon game kind of sucked. The program's first sectional championship in, I think, a decade or whatever it was, and there's no video of it. And I was one of those that I was wanting to screen from Center Grove, but no dice because it just wasn't available on stream, which is unfortunate. But I digress. Danny, we're joined now by friend of the show, Zach Newby, here to bring the lapel side of things. It's been a minute since we talked to Zach. Zach, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. Just trying to stick to the normal routine.
How's that working out?
Well, you text me in the middle of a Call of Duty game. I went ahead and got the Warzone win, so we're good on that. And now
Newby, I'm still recovering from you kicking my butt on the golf course at Jimmy Howell's event this summer. I don't know. I don't know if we've spoken. I don't know if we've spoken since then. Maybe just the occasional text, but I'm hurting from that.
Well,
that was...
in your defense, that is, I play that course about 10 times a week. So
okay.
So how you feel about Rensselaer Central and this regional you got coming up on Saturday?
I mean, I want to sit here and say, oh, I feel great about it. I mean, I'm confident in my team, and what we've done all year, and they're really good. I've watched just about their entire season, so but I feel good about the kids that I'm going to put out there and what we've done and what they're capable of doing, and obviously getting to play at home is a big advantage. So yeah, we're excited for the opportunity. Last year we really missed it, and so it's good to be back practicing this week.
I'm going to cut Hank off. I'm going to cut you off real quick. Just like we talked to the Rensselaer Central kids about the environment. Your fans came out for that Frankton game and were very good. Your student section. I will say this. I think the 2 best student bands that I've seen over the last couple of years are Lapel and McCutcheon's. I would expect your band to be there, but Rensselaer Central is going to travel too. That building's going to show off, Zach. That's going to be a lot of fun for you and all of those kids that get to be involved in that environment.
Yeah, we're stoked about that. We've been prepping for that. We got a couple kids that know what that's like. because we had that with Eastbrook. I mean, Eastbrook traveled really well, and I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't surprised the first year in 2023 when we walked out and I saw how many people we had. I don't know how many tickets we sold. Our gym holds a little over 3,000, and I can tell you our side was about as full as it can get. And then it was the same thing in 24. And so, I think especially with the buzz of our football team going to semi-state this year, and that being at home, I think the whole town is excited for another, championship Saturday afternoon. And I definitely think they're going to show up. So
4 fan bases too.
Yeah.
Is there an appreciation around town, I guess, of Lanaya, this being her last go round?
I don't know. It's hard because, when our school was all one building, you got to hear the buzz and you got to see the buzz. But with it just being, me teaching at the high school and being at the high school, you're kind of separated from it a bunch. But I can tell you, I've heard from a lot of people that they're excited for Saturday, that they got their tickets, asking what time doors open so they can make sure they get their seat. So I hope so. I hope so, because I hope that her consistency over 4 years hasn't made people just say, it's not, just take it for granted, because what she's done is special. And it's something that, our school's never seen, our county's never seen. And obviously she's done rebounding wise, something that the state has never seen. So, if this is the last time, it'll definitely be the last time she plays in our gym. So, if I were people that lived anywhere close, I'd be coming to make sure I catch it, because when it's gone, it's gone.
Has she exceeded your expectation this senior year with what she's done? Your expectations for her are higher than anybody's. I know that because we've had conversations about it. Has she exceeded them?
I think so, yeah. Because I wasn't sure with the knee injury. I don't think any of us were on how healthy she was going to be. And, she got to play volleyball, but that's completely different. Just, standing and jumping and you're coming out so much. I wasn't sure how she was going to hold up for 32 minutes, running up and down the floor, ball in your hand, rebounding, and everybody knows who the best player on the floor is, and you get everybody's best. And she still is averaging 28 and 13. It's just, honestly, it blows my mind, and I try to step back a little bit and appreciate it. I'm trying to soak this week in, because, I know Rensselaer is really good, and this could be the last week I ever get to coach her. And so, I want to make sure that I'm soaking all of that in, because, I hope that I get another player like her at some point, but I don't know how many of those they make.
I don't want to testify when I'm asking these questions, so I'm going to leave it real open-ended. Lanaya is great, okay? I've called her one of the most dominant players in that class on that side of the state in the last probably decade, and maybe ever, okay? Not maybe ever. But you can't do what you do unless you get the production from everybody else and everybody sliding into the role. So I don't want to testify and give you the names, but just talk to us about how you've been able to do this around her.
I think first and foremost, all our kids love each other. They love to play together. And they know that they know Lanaya is our best player. They know that the ball has to be in her hands as much as possible. They know she's going to get all the attention. And they still just come to work every day. And they don't, and that's a testament to Lanaya too, because she doesn't care about the attention. That's not, she wants to win championships. But the way these kids have grown, obviously Layla Dawson is my niece. And so we have a different connection. We have a great relationship. My sister actually says all the time that, the relationship, not that she's jealous of the relationship that Layla and I have, but it's different. When Layla's not going to hang out with friends on the weekends. She's calling me and saying, hey, can I come over and watch basketball, or can I come over and hang out? And that's just the type of relationship we have. And so that's special. And she's a grinder. She's a kid that's like, Saturday she made a play. I mean, we're up 25 or 30 and the ball's going out of bounds, and she dives out of bounds and bats it back into play, to one of our players who dives on the floor to get it, throws it to Lanaya on their back, and she goes down and gets a layup, And so it's just one of those, it's just a mentality. Sophie Goodwin she's going to Huntington to play soccer. She went to semi-state in soccer, and is a star soccer player. And she doesn't need to be the star. She doesn't care about being the star. She just, whatever we need her to do, she does it. Serenity Conyers is another one who transferred from Liberty Christian, and she scored a lot of points last year for Liberty Christian. I think she averaged like 25 a game, but she had the ball in her hands all the time. I mean, she was the Lanaya of her Liberty Christian team. And then she has to come here, and you're, third option probably. And so she has blossomed into that role. And lately you can see she's putting up 12, 15, 16, and she's figured out how to play without the ball in her hands all the time and score. And that's been huge for us. So, I mean, I could go on and on about all these kids. They're such great kids. They're funny. They keep me laughing all the time. And that's, I think that is key, because they don't want it to be over. It's less about winning the championship, honestly, and more about, we just want to keep spending time together.
Yeah. Zach, there's no time sensitivity to this question, but retell the story of what happened, the state championship. I know you guys had a 3 to win it, right? Like right in front of your bench. Was it Lanaya that shot it, or was it Maddie? I can't actually remember. Just kind of retell that story. And the reason why I asked that question is because I wanted to gently remind everybody too that Lapel has had some recent success in advancing very far in this tournament. So just kind of remind us of that.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for bringing that up. I only dream about it like 6 times a week. It's actually crazy. I bet 15 times I've dreamt that Maddie's shot went in.
It was Maddie.
Okay. And there's that I can tell you, that's a weird feeling to be asleep that you won a state championship and then you wake up and you still lost. So yeah, I mean, that game, that was the story of that year. I mean, our sectional was brutal that year. We had to open up with Ellick, and the sectional was supposed to be at Ellick, and it was at Wapahani, which is about 50 minutes away from us. So we played Wapahani last game of the year, and then we had to turn around and go there 3 more times. Drew Ellick with Hosier and that group, and we're down 10 in the second quarter, come back and win by 2. Down 15, I think, to Wapahani in the first half, come back and win that game. Then down 10 again to Winchester in the first half, and come back and win sectional championship game. And then regional week, we're all sick. The whole team is sick. We find a way to beat Eastbrook by 1, I think. Kind of roll through semi-state, really. I mean, semi-state wasn't really a problem. And then we were down 10 in the third quarter of the state championship game and had the lead with 17 seconds to go. Maddie blew up in the fourth quarter. I think she had 12 in the fourth quarter. Hit a 3 to put us up 1 with 17 seconds to go. They came down and ran a set to their big.
Amber Treader.
Yep. And then
that's right.
We came down and we wanted to get it to, Danae Hazeman, who's the best shooter in the history of our program. And they knew that too. And so, she was unselfish and kicked it back to Maddie, who I think inbounded it. And I was right behind her. I mean, I thought.
Yeah, I think you fell to your knees. I think
yeah.
You were right on line.
I mean, it was right there, and it was just a little short. So ended up losing by 1, and but that doesn't take away from what those kids did. Nobody. I don't think we were in the top 15 of Sagarin all year that year, and so they battled and came together when they needed to, and so that was a fun year. And then, the next year we make it back to semi-state and you lose the Lures, who are obviously really good. So, you lost to the state champion 2 years in a row.
Yep.
So
Newby, when I first see Rensselaer Central, Courtney Mathew jumps out on film for me. Your early reads, do you see Courtney Mathew also, or what do you see when you watch them?
Yeah, her and is it Rowland?
Yeah,
both
Kamri,
of them.
yeah.
They're tough. Mathew, it's hard to tell on film, but she looks super long. She is really good at the top of that 1-2-2. Probably, I told the girls today, she's probably the best at stealing bounce passes that I've ever seen. I actually have to call my JV coach from high school, Tim Hildebrand, who's the girls coach at Adams Central now, because he used to always say bounce pass and get it back. He said nobody can steal bounce passes, but he's a liar because she can. So we've worked on that, and they're so intense. They play with intensity, and so you have to be able to match that and not shy away from it.
Awesome. Well, Zach, best of luck this weekend, buddy. It's good catching up with you, and best of luck to you this weekend.
Yeah,
Newby, hang out for a little bit. We'll hang out afterwards.
Okay.
Zach Newby here with us on the scores table. Danny spilling governance secrets over the air, which is wonderful as always. We love it when he does that. Any other closing thoughts here, Danny, on Class A 2A before we spin it ahead to Thursday one more time?
No, but I will reiterate something that he had said too in retelling the story from 4 years ago, that it is very, very simple to just see Marquette Catholic and to see Borden, particularly in Class A, and think there is a level of inevitability to that. Lafayette Central Catholic crashed the party last year. 4 years ago, Coach Newby just told the story about how they weren't even in the top 15 in the class, okay? Somebody that wins this weekend will throw themselves into that semi-state round and be the basketball team, if it isn't in fact chalk, and it isn't in fact Marquette Catholic and Borden, and inject themselves into downtown. So I can't remember who said everybody in this round is good. Everybody in this round is good. So it's just a reminder to everybody that, watch these games and go to them. I think with this too, I mentioned it earlier, Hank, like you get 4 fan bases. Yep. And so not only do you have these independent communities, particularly in the smaller classes, that are going to go out and support. I've seen firsthand this month what North Knox's community is. I've seen firsthand what Lapel's, what Rensselaer Central's is. All of these schools that have this huge community feeling and these huge community followings, is if those people show up and you win, they will also show up the following weekend at semi-state, and it creates a really cool thing for people to kind of rally around. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy about the Class A and 2A regional round, is these just real passionate and rabid fan bases.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is a great segue. Thank you. It's going to be our 4A and 3A show tomorrow in the group that Danny and I have lined up. Again, representatives from McCutcheon, Connersville, Evansville, Wrights, Penn, Jennings County, Belmont, Pendleton Heights, and then a big 4A roundtable with Jester Melio from Carmel and Stephen Thomas from Lawrence North. We thank everybody who stuck with us here for the 2A show. We thank all the guests for coming on with us. Danny and I will be back. If this is the only show that you watch and you watch to the end, we will be back on Sunday morning to recap the regional action. We'll have journalists, guests on like we always do, recapping the games. IndyStar.com is going to have recaps from the local games. I'll do a roundup of some sort, a weekly wrap. I'm not entirely sure what it'll look like, but we'll have recaps and information from all of these games. We'll have photos from Heritage Christian's game against Union County. I'm hoping to get somebody out, too, to cover the Lapel game as well. But we thank you all so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again here tomorrow night, 24 hours from now. Tune in.